Folks, my new book, Not Sick of Winning, A History of President Trump's First 100 Days, is available now. Just head over to notsickofwinning.com to buy it on Amazon. Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. This is a very special 4th of July weekend episode because we're going to be talking about freedom and hope with a very special returning guest, Lyn Ulbricht. You might know her as Ross Ulbricht's mom. And this time it's under much happier circumstances. You can see she's got a big smile on her face. For people who don't know the story of Ross, he launched a website called Silk Road. They put him away double life with no possibility of parole.
Plus 40 years, Michael. Don't forget the 40 years.
I did forget that. I didn't know. Plus 40 years. Every appeal got shot down. At a certain point, the only way he's getting out of jail is if the president commutes or pardons him. And his mom, this crazy lady, was like, I'm not giving up on my son. And if you went back in time 5 years to anyone and said, look, lady, like the only way you're getting your kid out of jail is the president's involved. Like, it's nice that you think this is going to happen, but let's start dealing in reality, right? Because that's how people think. And yet here we are. Ross is free. Trump lied because he said he would free Ross on day one. It took day two.
24 hours. It was within 24 hours.
It was 24 hours.
I'm pretty close.
Well, I remember people getting all upset that it took 2 days, which to me is unconscionable.
Yeah.
And this is such a story of hope. One of the reasons I wrote my book, The White Pill, is because there's so many concrete examples in reality of things that seem hopeless to the point of ridiculous. And yet they happen all the time if you're just open to them and letting yourself see them. I've been very privileged to become friends with you. You're such an inspiration. And what people didn't appreciate, which I came to know, is when you were talking about Ross and advocating for him, you always had to be very serious, obviously, because you don't want to seem glib and things like this. But you do have a good sense of humor. You're not Eeyore, right? And I know Ross also in all the pictures in jail, he's always smiling and had a positive attitude. Mm-hmm. So I think the first question I have is, can you tell people how the hell can you maintain a sense of hope and happiness when you're facing the entire federal government and your baby boy is only one person, the president's going to take your call in. Yeah, okay.
Well, believe me, I wasn't always happy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And honestly, the difference now is I would walk around with this kind of well of sadness all the time.
Sure.
You know? And but I still have fun. It weakens you terribly if you are sad all the time and acting sad. There was one young man, he said, you just act too happy. This was at a conference.
He said this?
Yeah, because he was trying to help, don't act so happy. And I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to be? Like this sad mother who, oh my God, I feel sorry for her. Let's get out of here. She's going to be all sad around me and cry. And that's no fun,
hold on. There's 2 points I have to make here. One is, one of my favorite things, and I'm glad you've had the same experience, is unsolicited advice. It's really always useful. But 2, when I wrote my book on North Korea, Dear Reader, I made it a point to make it humorous because if you're dealing with unrelenting darkness, people emotionally, even if they otherwise might join the mission, they bail. You can't handle it. We're not built for that.
That's right. And there are moments you're happy.
Yeah.
It's not, and enjoy people. The Bible says, I think it's misery dries up your bones.
Okay.
It's like it says, look, even Ross said, there's a lot to be grateful for in prison even. And, it really helped me get through this to have, I have kind of a dark sense of humor. I'm from New York. What can I say?
Yeah.
But it actually strengthens you. Not frivolous humor, but, it's because it's serious stuff. But people are going to listen more if it's not all horrible.
Yeah, towards the end of her life, and I talked about this in my other book, The New Right, Joan Rivers stormed off a CNN interview because this woman was like saying, oh, your jokes are mean, whatever. And she's like, first of all, you're not the one to talk to me about humor. And she quoted Churchill, he goes, when you make people laugh, you give them a vacation. like from the horrors of life. Even if it's dark humor for 5 seconds, you have that like steam valve and they could kind of release it. But a lot of people don't get it. Like they don't think you should ever be laughing if things are dark. And I don't know how they get through life.
That's a brilliant comment you made.
Isn't
because
it?
it is. For me, it was a vacation.
Yeah.
Because when you're laughing at something or seeing the absurdity of things, it is a little break. You know, you can't be miserable all the time and it weakens you.
And especially he wasn't
Yeah.
being miserable all the time, like you said.
Exactly.
So was there also, but can you give any advice? Like what would you advise if you were talking to another Lyn Ulbricht, what would you tell her?
Well, one thing is it can be so overwhelming if you're looking at this, like you say, this impossible task.
Right.
I knew I was trapped by mother love and I was going to have to do this no matter what till I died. That's how I looked at it. I would always be trying because what am I going to do? Go follow my bliss on some beach or something
Right.
with my son rotting in prison, you know?
Right.
And now I've learned even from Ross now how cruel prison is. I mean, he talked about it at Freedom Fest. I don't know if you heard that
I didn't hear it.
You should
Okay.
listen. Sometime it's really shocking. And I even said to him, God, I didn't know those things. He goes, well, I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to, you know, we can go into it a bit.
Yeah, I
But,
do want to go into it.
yeah.
Of course.
So now I lost my train of thought.
No, you're talking about what advice you would give to another Lyn.
Right. I would say just take it one day at a time. That's
Okay.
one thing. My faith really got me through. I contribute this to a miracle of God. It is a miracle. I mean,
It is.
as hard as we worked and everything, what are the chances?
It's
What were
ridiculous.
the
It's
odds?
ridiculous, right? If
You know,
if you when it started, you knew this was ridiculous and you
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm a pretty unlikely person. My daughter calls me Frodo, like the unlikely little with the ring. I'm going to get the ring. Because look, I'm a boomer, you know, start out. Tech is completely mysterious to me.
By the way,
Still.
to prove that she's a boomer, she was texting me the wrong thing this
Oh, yeah.
morning. I woke up on my bed. I'm like, why is Lyn texting me? She's like, oops, sorry, I texted the wrong person. So yeah, she's certified boomer.
I'm like, but I'm glad it was you.
Yeah.
It was, but yeah, and here I am confronting, I don't know, the biggest, baddest prosecutors on the planet
Right.
and the DOJ in a high-profile dark web drug case. What? You
Right,
know?
right.
And the advice is don't underestimate what you can get done with help from others, God, just perseverance. I was just not going to give up. And maybe they just like, you know, I can't take this woman anymore. But it's Catherine Austin Fitz. She said she calls it turtling forth, like turtle, boom, 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 you know, and just don't stop. And if that thing doesn't work, and it can be devastating when it doesn't. I mean, when I was so hoping that President Trump would commute his sentence the first administration. When he didn't, it was like, oh my God. But then okay, what do I do next? Okay, what's next? And sometimes it's devastating, like when we were lost at the Supreme Court. And
Did they
I was
even hear
hoping
the case, or did they just not even
they
hear
didn't,
it?
yeah.
They
By
didn't even hear
lost,
it.
I mean they chose not to
Right,
hear it.
okay,
We
yeah.
really had a lot of hope. We had an excellent lawyer, and he had some hope. At least something.
Yeah.
At least the sentence, you know, would be looked at again. And they didn't. And then I just thought, well, we've got to get into politics and people. And in a way, I was more comfortable there because I don't trust the justice system.
Did you ever sit down and think, which is true, but yet false in another way, why the hell would anyone promise to do this? What's in it for them? Because politicians obviously are self-serving. And
that's
so
good.
at a certain point, it's like, why would any president even care?
That's a good question. I actually never really thought about that.
Oh, good thing I never said that to you, because that would have really made things worse.
I was like,
maybe my Soviet brain is
please,
too.
you know, yeah. You're so
Oh my God, that's so funny. Because the thing is, difference in an American household and a Russian household. In a Russian household, whenever you have hope about anything, and this is why I don't tell my parents and my family a lot of stuff. The first question is something pulling the rug out. Always. Always. So it would be like there was this show called Russian Dolls, which is the Russian version of Jersey Shore. And I've told this story many times. A girl decides, oh, Mom, I know what major I'm going to have. I'm going to go to law school. How are you going to pay for it? Immediately. Not, oh, that's exciting. Why do you like law? How are you going to pay for it? And she has this breakdown, you know, and it's just like that. It's always seeing the negative. It's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that, you know, obviously I was trying to build a lot of support.
Of course.
We had a petition of over 600,000 people. We went to legislators, and many about 15 signed
Oh,
a
wow.
letter that never was submitted, because by the time we were going to submit it, Trump had done this, but it was to either president. And and we also had a letter from 15, I believe, former DOJ officials
Oh,
and
wow.
people, attorneys, saying it was wrong. And, you know, we're trying to convince that this was a worthwhile effort. It wasn't just, you know, la-di-da, but yeah, to give them incentive to do it, they would get a lot of approval from all those people. And the more we built it, you know, so there was that.
I remember I tweeted during 2024, when this was becoming, we'll talk about Trump promising at the Libertarian Convention. That was obviously a huge moment for you. I tweeted at Biden. I said, hey, this is your chance to upstage Trump. Commute Ross today and you'll get all those votes. And everyone saw almost everyone saw what I was doing. But then some people were like, he's not going to read this, as if his people aren't going to see it. And second, it's not going to work. What's the cost? It took me, 90 seconds to send this tweet. It was just shocking to me how people, instead of like, just throw whatever against the wall, what works. We're trying to free someone from jail. What is your problem? It was just so disheartening to me. So let's talk about that Libertarian Convention when Trump gets on stage publicly and promises to commute Ross. And that was also a lie, because he did not just commute Ross's sentence, he pardoned him, correct? So
a wonderful lie.
Wonderful lie. And it's still, you can't trust him on anything. He went on stage and said, I'm going to commute Ross's sentences on day one of the presidency.
2 times served.
Yeah.
Because commutations, Obama, I believe, and maybe Biden gave people, I'm going to commute your life sentence, 20 years.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be time served.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought commutation meant, oh, wow.
Nope. Pardon does.
Oh.
Yeah, pardons.
Okay, sure.
But no. So, thanks a lot. I have a 20 years and I'm, 50 years
thanks,
old.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Can you tell me if you're allowed to discuss this publicly, what the steps were that led to that and how you found out that this is going to happen from him?
Well, I got actually a text from you saying, will you talk to Rick Grinnell?
Okay.
That's the first. I was like, sure, of course. And but what happened was that even back in his first administration, or the last election before this one, Trump was on Laura Ingraham saying, the libertarians should vote for me. This is, I am kind of libertarian and they're taking away the votes and they're wasting their votes. And I even went up to New Hampshire, the free state, and made that case to the Republicans there, but they didn't listen to me because I said, you can win New Hampshire at least, because there's a huge movement for Ross there. But
you made the case to libertarians, you mean?
No, to the Republicans in New Hampshire in the first time around.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And they lost New Hampshire. It came so close too, but I think it could have helped. A lot of people were saying, hey, I'll register to vote, to vote for Ross up there. And it's a small state. So anyway, what was the question? I'm so sorry. I'm going off on.
It's fine. You're a boomer. What's the...
That's right. Thank you.
What was the steps that led to and how you found out about Trump announcing the Libertarian Convention?
So this was already on his mind, and, good point. I've been thinking about it for the whole last time. And he reached out, I think through Rick Grinnell, I could be wrong on that detail, to Angela McArdle, who was chief, the head of the Libertarian National Party. And from what Angela told me and what her partner Austin told me is that he went to them and first Rick Grinnell did, and then they met with Trump himself. And they were saying, what can we do to attract libertarian votes? I mean, he was going to all kinds of groups, very smart to do. And Austin was giving him all kinds of policy things that are very, dear to libertarian hearts. And then Angela just was like, and you can free Ross Ulbricht, and that's going to really get you a lot. And he, so that's how it happened. That's how it was Angela, really.
How did you find out that this got sent to him and that he agreed to it?
She called me.
Okay.
And so I found out through her that was in the works.
So, I mean, let's talk about that moment, right? Because it's one thing to have this, you mentally have the plan, but when you get that phone call I'm sure it's just kind of like the first time you found out you were pregnant, right? These moments that you remember that your
Yeah.
life's
Oh
changed
yeah, no,
permanently.
I remember it. Yes,
Sure.
very clearly.
So she calls you, and this isn't daydreams. This isn't Lyn's fantasy. This is, I spoke to Trump, and he was amenable to freeing your son from jail. So this isn't, now we're actually, this is reality.
Yeah.
Can you talk?
And going on stage and publicly pledging it.
But she called you before he went on stage, correct?
But she told me that that was the plan.
Sure, but at the same time, who knows? Until he's
True.
on that stage, you know what I mean?
No,
This
yes,
politician.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
can you tell us about that phone call? What that felt like for you?
I was like, oh my God. You know, seriously, it was just like amazing. It was like taking leaps ahead that could possibly happen. And I was just, you know, totally amazed. And of course, grateful and excited and thought, wow, he's got to win.
Right, of course.
You know, and it's not that I wouldn't have been happy to have President Biden do the same.
Of course.
But that was, you know, like you, that was put out there and that was not picked up.
How soon before the convention did she call you? Do you remember? What was the window?
It was in December of the year before.
Oh, so this is months.
Yeah.
Okay, so
she told me, you know, it was a plan. That was what, you know, they were hoping to do.
Okay, I think it was February, March.
It was, yeah.
So
yes, and then later in February, March, I met with her and Rick Grinnell.
But February, when was the convention? Do you remember?
May.
Oh, it was in May. Okay, so
May.
you got 5 months.
Yeah.
Right. So walk us through what that's like, because it's kind of like you don't want to spook the bear kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just like he said this, he's committed to it. This is the former president. He owes you nothing. Like at any moment he could just change his mind, right? It's very easily.
True.
So were you like, I'll believe when I see it, or were you hopeful? Like, what was your state of mind?
Just kept doing the same thing I was always doing, getting more signatures, getting more evidence of support, more people outraged at this sentence. Because this sentence, it's not only about Ross.
That's right. Yes.
It puts us all in peril to have a sentence like, and that's why, again, we can talk about my
We
project.
will. We're going to start.
No, I know.
This.
But it puts us all in peril to have these sentences.
You know, I had the January 6th shaman on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I feel toward people like him and Ross the way like conservatives feel about veterans. Like, thank you for your service, because I know with every fiber of my being, there but for the grace of God go I. Mm-hmm. If the state wanted to turn its eye of Sauron on me, I could have been just as easily. They find some pretext to put me away, maybe not double life, but certainly enough that my life is ruined and I'd have no or very little ability to fight back. And what a nightmare that would be. And even in America. So, and people, there's this joke about how a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged, and then a libertarian is a conservative who's been arrested. And I think COVID and recent years have shown a lot of people who are like big back the blue types, just wait until the blue decides not to back you and see what happens to you. Yeah.
And actually a great deal of our support has come from people who said, I want to help you. This could be me.
Yeah.
This could have been me.
So May comes around. It still looks like it's going to happen, right? Were you in that room?
I had COVID and I couldn't go. I watch it on TV. So I have a video of him. You know, first of all, I was afraid he was going to, because of all the booing. And the booing was louder than the cheers. Right. There were cheers, I hear, but you know, a lot of booing, and that was due to controversy. Like, why is this guy in our convention?
Right,
kind of
which
thing.
is not unreasonable.
No, it isn't. So I thought he was going to. At one point, I thought he was going to walk off stage. I'm like, please no, stay. You know, and then you can hear me crying in my video after he did it. I mean, it was after he said that, and everybody. It turned the room around.
Oh yeah,
and everybody cheered.
Angela's no dummy. She was right. Like, if this is the thing that they want, because it's concrete, immediate, and it's easy
and
to.
It's kind of, you can relate. There's, you know, I've got a zillion statistics about life sentences and stuff, but it's a person,
right? And
that's really what I want to do with my project, is bring stories of the destruction of lives and communities that's happening because of, we can go on later, but so yeah, people. There was a lot of emotion behind Ross, and. Trump listed a great list of things libertarians want, but it was that turned the room around.
Were you just giddy when you saw that debate and watched Biden implode? Because then you're like, oh crap, now he's definitely going to win.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but at the same time, you never know what's
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
You know, you never know.
What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally you get a little breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you are feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you are not alone because most Americans are putting these expenses on a credit card and there doesn't seem to be a way out. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt. You need to call American Financing today before you get to a point where you can't make those payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer, so call now before it is too late. That's 866-336-5030. That's 866-336-5030. Even easier, AmericanFinancing.net/malice. Call American Financing today to find out how customers are saving an average of $800 a month at 866-336-5030 or visit AmericanFinancing.net/malice, NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Let's get back to the show.
So Trump wait, when did you and how did you communicate to Ross that this is coming down the pipe? Or did you not tell him until Trump said it?
I can't remember.
Oh, that's kind of a big one.
After that. Oh, about the him announcing it and everything?
Yeah, like when did you tell Ross? Like,
well, the next time I saw him.
Okay. So
we never talked about things anything political over the prison phone. Because
right, obviously. So you talked to Angela, then when you went to visit him, you were in person and you said, Trump is committing to the community. Whoa. Yeah. Let's talk. Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Okay, let's talk about this. Because I'm sure getting to the prison, it's not an easy trip. It takes time, right, to get there.
Yeah.
So
no, it's
the whole time you're driving there or whatever you're going there, you've got the best present on earth that anyone's ever gotten, right? And you have this in your back pocket. Were you just giddy? Like, I can't wait to sit him down?
Yeah. Well,
oh my God, how exciting.
I think his wife told him first.
Oh, okay.
So she visited him first.
Okay.
So, yes, it was, oh my God, I have a chance to have a second chance at my life. Right.
What was his reaction?
He said he'd do it. Now we got to get him elected.
Sure. Do you remember his reaction when you told him?
Very overjoyed, of course. It's like, oh my God, it could happen,
Is that something that had any consequences for him in jail?
I think, he actually had a lot of positive.
Oh, good.
Okay. No, nothing negative that he told me about. Actually, and when it all happened, people were wonderful about it. I mean,
oh, that's so great. Because I thought they'd be maybe jealous or something like that.
Yeah, I know. But no, they were. And that's how I always felt when I heard about people being let out. And I know Ross did. It's like, you're so happy for them.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
You are. It's like, yes. And it also gives hope because if it can happen, it can happen, with him. If it could happen with him, it could happen with anybody.
Wow. So election night happens. When do you get the confirmation that, yes, he's not going to break this promise? Or did you not?
Oh, well, election night was that he was going to be able to even execute the whole thing,
sure,
right?
But you still don't know he's going to do it. He could still change his mind.
And by the way, my car got totaled and I was in a car wreck the next day after election day. So I don't know. Ross, I'm like, I'm alive. I crawled out of the car.
Well, you literally had to crawl out of a car?
Yeah. And
how did it get totaled? What happened?
And I didn't get hurt. A guy hit broadside of me.
Was it the deep state?
Well, if so, they're in pretty good disguise. But anyway, it was just, and Ross called me, Mom, that would be so tragic if you died now. Don't do that. I'm like, yeah, I'll try not to. By the way, I'm like, in your case, well, I don't know if you still don't have a car. I don't have a car. I haven't had a car since.
I still don't have a car. Okay, so let's talk about this because everyone on the internet's like, why haven't? So what happened was I never knew how to drive as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I moved here. My friend Colin Robb, who's a professional race car driver, was teaching me. We were filming it because it was good content. Now Colin's been busy. I haven't gotten around to it, the whole internet's yelling at me like, blah, 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 your license. I'm like, I'm having fun with these Uber anecdotes because it's a little adventure. And
Yeah, it is.
I'm also read 80 pages a day, 40 of serious book, 40 of fun book. And my travel time is when I read. So I'm going to have to recalibrate that if I learn how to drive. It's not that big of a deal, but people are so personally invested in me not having a license. It's just hilarious to me at that point. So, but again, back to you.
Yeah.
When was there some kind of confirmation from the administration or what would become the administration? He's still going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it was all along. They did ask for some letters. We had many letters on Ross's behalf. I think it wasn't an easy pardon necessarily. I think there, from what I understand, there was pushback. There was, it was kind of controversial.
Oh,
really.
sure, of course.
And, he was taking a risk in that sense. And to do that, and some of even inner circle people. And actually, it was funny because so Rick Rennell's a real advocate for Ross, and he said he was, people were like, "What are you doing? Why are you bringing him here to this?" And especially when everybody starts booing, and it was this huge thing. And he said he was getting all these texts about it, and what have you done? And he goes, "Oh God, I'm going to lose my job." He's going to be furious that I brought him here. And he said he went back after he got backstage and said, "Okay, I'm going to face him." And Trump's like, "That was great. They had their opinion. I had mine. They love me."
Right. That's so Trump.
It's so Trump.
I loved it.
He loved me. It's all cool. It's all good. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's so great about Trump. He's just,
But again, did they talk to you in December? Did you have any contact with them in November?
No, December was the first I heard about it. December of the prior year.
No, but December of 2024. What I'm saying is, so they did talk to you.
I mean,
December.
24. Wait a minute. Let me think. You're getting me.
He's elected in November 2024, right?
Right.
So was there, and he's inaugurated January. Was there any talk in that window?
Oh, in there.
Yeah.
Well, he told me, he called me. Trump called me.
When?
The day that he did it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I missed the call. Okay.
Did you have COVID? What
the COVID boomer.
What kind of tragedy
I
is happening?
simply went into the other room. What happened was we visited Ross that day because it was a holiday.
Okay.
And
yes, Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, exactly. And so we talked about it and will he, won't we, when, because some people said, well, day ones could be a month. Day one is an expression. And I'm like, I don't think the libertarians and the crypto people feel that way.
I don't think,
Yeah. I think it means day one.
Yeah.
But I had actually met him prior to that.
Okay.
So I went, thanks to a donor, went to a luncheon with him. He was very nice to me. Did he know who you were? Well, he knew who I was, and he was introduced.
Okay.
And he said, "Listen, I might not be able to do it day one. I got a lot to do that day. I got a lot to do." And I'm like, "It's okay. It's okay. That's fine." He goes, "I'm going to do it. It's a horrible sentence. And, I'm going to do it." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Did he seem sincere?
Oh yeah. He
Okay.
seemed very sincere and very kind.
Okay.
Very nice. And he said, "Tell your boy hi for me," and all of that.
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then we all sat down, and during that lunch, he was saying, "This woman, she's fighting for her son on a drug crime." And I'm kind of going, "Well, it's actually kind of a Bitcoin."
Well, he's even more of a boomer than you. So he doesn't. You try to explain the dark web to President Trump. Good luck with that one. Or what Bitcoin is. What is that, like Monopoly?
And he didn't. He's like, "It's great," and I'm going to, he said commute.
Yeah.
I believe I would have remembered pardon
Yeah,
because I didn't expect that at all. And he said, "I've got a great mother. This is wonderful, and he, we're going to do this." So, and then when he left, he gave me a thumbs up.
Oh, wow.
Which was so nice of him.
Yes.
Well, what the truth is, it was really good food. And I was feeding my face with, I think it was chocolate mousse, really good. And I look up and everyone's lined up in a kind of a goodbye line, and he's shaking hands. I'm like, damn, I should be, what am I doing? I'm eating chocolate mousse. And so I was kind of like peeking through the line, and he saw me. And that's when he gave me the thumbs up.
Wow.
I'm like, geez.
And I'm sure you told Ross all about this.
Yeah.
And what was his reaction?
Yeah. Well, he was so happy to have this hope,
Yeah.
to a light at the end of the tunnel.
And the thing that I think that's exciting about this hope is it wasn't some, I'll look into it, which we all know can, it's like you're a mom.
Well,
I'm sure.
that's what RFK said. Later, he said he would do it. For
Sure,
sure.
but
And that's understandable. I didn't blame him.
Of course. But
because it's like, I'll consider it.
Yeah, but the fact
Yeah.
that Trump concretely said, it's very different. You're a mom.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are times when Ross was growing up and he's like, Mom, can I take the car? And you're like, I'll think about it, which means no. Right? So when the politicians say, I'll look into it, that means I'm giving you hope, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So he specifically
No,
said.
he did. He committed.
Okay, so you get the call. So does the caller ID say the White House, like the president?
Well, so I left the room for a very short time and came back and I looked at my phone. I should read you the.
Oh,
the
please,
thing.
of course. Yes, this is so exciting.
I should have thought of that already.
Of course. Not every day you get a call from
Let's see.
the
Where
White
can I
House.
find this now that I said that.
And now our favorite segment, Boomers Trying to Use Technology.
Boomers trying to find something on their phone. Let me see.
We'll add some doom, doom,
Damn.
some game show music. January 6th, or just search for a word.
No, I'm trying to think of. I have the whole thing written down on my phone, and I can't. We're going to cut this part out.
Oh,
right?
no, this is gold. Are you kidding?
No.
Ross was in.
Don't
If
do
Ross
this
can
to
handle
me.
years in jail, our audience can handle.
No, they can't. Believe me,
a
because it
boomer
might take
looking
me.
through her phone.
The pressure will make it harder.
That's what makes it funnier.
At my expense.
Lyn,
Michael.
listen. Look where we are. We're the worst thing that's happening in your life,
Okay,
right?
This isn't the worst thing.
No,
Almost.
No, but I'm saying right today, look what a utopia you live in, where the thing that you're stressed out the most is finding a message
I'm
from the
just going to
president.
scroll to the date.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. That's what I just told you.
For
Yeah.
several months.
That's fine. We have all day.
La la la.
we're gonna add
Thanks
some
a
music.
lot.
Jeopardy
Why
music.
did I say that? Here we go. I'm fine. I'm in February. It wasn't February. It was January, of course.
I'm going to.
You are.
I am delighted.
I may never forgive you for this.
I am delighted that I'm in a position that I can sit here and laugh with you.
You are going to bore your audience to tears.
That's the whole theme of my show every week. I'm like a low grade Tom Woods.
Too much. Okay, let's see. It's coming. We're
It's
honing in
fine.
on it here the hard way. Here it is. I found
Okay,
it.
hooray. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I come back and this is the text I get.
Okay.
Hi, Mrs. Ulbricht. This is in President Trump's office. I just tried you on my desk line. President Trump would like to speak with you now. Are you free?
Wait, let's talk about this. So this is literally Inauguration Day.
The day after.
Okay, the day after.
But
So-
within 24 hours.
Sure. But the point is, Donald Trump just became president again. He's got a lot on his plate.
Got a lot on his plate.
And so is somebody else. And he's trying to get a hold of Lyn Ulbricht. And she's like, tell him I'm busy.
Am I free?
Am I free?
Well, yes, exclamation point. And then she said, I will call again now.
Okay.
So thank God I didn't miss the call,
Do
right?
they say this is the White House calling for Lyn Ulbricht? How do they announce it?
It was a text.
No, but when they call you.
Oh, no, he came on the line.
Okay, just, hey, Lyn.
That
okay.
I recall. But
Okay.
Of course, my memory, because I'm a boomer.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure he just came on the line. Or that's all I remember, because it was like very familiar voice.
Sure,
right?
of course, yes.
And he's like, I've got good news for you. And I'm like, oh my God. And, honestly, we never considered that he actually would give a full pardon.
Right.
I mean, that's like very rare. I mean, beyond rare. And
who cares? I'd get him out.
yeah. And we're
Right,
like,
fine.
would it be, there was an issue where that judge, Catherine Forrest.
I've had to deal with her too.
You have?
Uh-huh. She's not liked.
Yeah. I've always called her a monster, whatever. When I privately, now I'll say it, I think, horrible. And I want to talk about judges at some point.
We will, yeah.
Well, not even necessarily now, except there's so many that are politically motivated, and I think she was. But in some way, she was, Chuck Schumer recommended her. So, but in any case, what were we saying again?
Trump calls you.
Sorry, I keep
No,
doing
it's fine.
this
I'm
to
paying
you.
attention. Trump calls you and he's like, hey, Lyn, Mrs. Ulbricht, sorry. How do you
Yeah,
call you, Lyn or
no.
Mrs. Ulbricht?
He didn't call me anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I got good news.
So yeah, I've got good news for you. So I'm like, knowing, yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you before that. I'm sorry. Keep track of me. Okay. On his, she had also, that's why I brought up the judge. She had given him a lifetime of, just in case he got out, just in case he beat her double life plus 40-year sentence. She said, well, just in case, I'm putting you under a lifetime of supervised release. In other words, parole for the rest of your life.
Oh.
Which means it's a tripwire. I've been told by other prisoners, it's a tripwire to get sent right back. You can mess up on parole in the most minor things.
Of course. Speeding ticket, jaywalking. Anything.
Riding in a car with someone who has marijuana in the car that you don't know, that's in the trunk.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's all kinds of horror stories about people who've been sent back. She put that on him for the rest of his life. And as one person who'd had it, it's like, it's not as bad as prison, but it's like prison.
Yeah, because you always have the sword over your head.
And you have to ask permission to do things and all kinds of stuff. So we were hoping and kind of trying to negotiate, please take that off, you know?
Yeah,
so that was one of the things we were concerned about. But of course, anything would be a relief. And so, so then he said, so that's what we were talking about. So I didn't know. And then he said, I've got good news for you. And then he said, I'm going to issue a full and unconditional pardon to your son. And I was like,
start crying?
yeah. I was like,
of
thank
course.
you. You know, just loop. It was like a surreal moment. But then he read the entire pardon to me. And, you know, you're saying how terribly busy and preoccupied, and he took the time to read it to me.
Oh, my God. Was that, I mean,
I was just kind of like.
Wait, I got to ask, like, I know this is apples and oranges, but is that, I mean, talk about surreal.
Yeah.
First of all, that Trump is the president is also surreal.
Yeah,
but also, like, the President Trump is on the phone with you, reading you the part. There's this, my friend Jackie told me this story from some rabbi. And the story goes, if you went back in time 10 years and saw yourself, what you were worried about, and, you know, you could say, look, some of those things happened, some didn't, you're fine, you know, but you could also go back, imagine yourself in 2035 going back 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And telling yourself, blah, blah. If you went back 5 years and told yourself, you would have been like, okay, lay off the marijuana, crazy lady. Like, the President Trump is going to call you and read you the full pardon. It's like, okay, like, relax. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and yet it happened.
It's ridiculous. And it happened. It was very kind of him.
So what I was going to say is, how does that compare to giving birth? Like, in terms of emotional.
Hang on.
Sure, please.
Because I didn't tell you the punchline.
Please. Oh, yes. Okay. What is it?
So I was like, thank you so much. Like, you know, just blubbering really. And he was like, tell him to stay clean.
Oh, so he still thought it was a drug thing.
Don't worry, I will.
He still thought it was a drug thing.
You will not regret this.
Oh my God.
You know, thank you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So in terms of emotional impact, how does that compare to becoming a mom? Is it similar, dissimilar?
Well, it's getting my son back, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
So in that sense, I guess you could say it's similar. I mean, totally. I mean, it's a pretty big question because becoming a mom changes your whole life. But this really changed my life.
Of course.
Back. Well, not even back. It's different now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd say it's life-changing.
Guys, I want to talk about a sponsor that is near and dear to my heart and to my family because my nephew uses their product. Also, he has Crohn's. That is Just Thrive. As many of you know, I had stomach issues all my life growing up. And then I met someone who had Crohn's disease, and he had recommended probiotics. I'd never heard of it before, and it fixed my issues almost immediately. They're low cost, virtually no risk. And when you have these kind of issues, you think this is just how I am. And I'm telling you, you don't have to live that way. When you try it, you're like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a normal person. If this sounds like something that's hitting close to home, I would strongly encourage you to try Just Thrive. So not only have their probiotics, they also have a new product, which are digestive bitters. Now, what these are, they're tasteless. They're capsules that contain 12 bitter herbs, clinically proven to wake up your digestive system for results you can feel. So it helps with bloat, burps, belly aches after meals, just comfortable digestion. And Just Thrive bitters even support natural GLP-1 production, which helps control cravings and helps you keep satisfied longer when it comes to food. Give your gut the care it deserves. Try Just Thrive probiotics and digestive bitters today, risk-free. Save 20% off with the code WELCOME at justthrivehealth.com. See the difference for yourself. Full product refund, no questions asked. Justthrivehealth.com, code WELCOME. I don't even know where to start in terms of recommending this. This is something that has helped me out so much in my life. I talked about it before they were a sponsor. I'm going to talk about it to the day I die. Your gut health and your stomach issues are such a thing that affect every aspect of your life. And when you find out that something that's so easily fixed, you want to pull your hair out, as I wanted to do. And I'm so grateful that they're a sponsor. JustThriveHealth.com, code WELCOME, and you get 20% off, risk-free. Let's get back to the show.
How did Ross get confirmation that this was happening? Did you call him? They don't have
Oh,
cell
we went
phones,
and got
do they?
him.
We
went and got him, and he got paperwork that he was getting out.
So what was the window between Trump calling and Russ getting out?
Pretty small. It was paperwork was happening. It was getting dark. We didn't get over there until 8 p.m.
Okay.
So so it was happening, and we knew that Ross we had always expected a call from him.
Right.
Hey, I think that's a normal thing. And so we showed up at the prison. It was dark by then. A couple of guards in cars, so they were there and took our IDs. And then Caroline, his wife, they said she can come and escort him out. And out comes Ross down with her car, and then he gets out of the car, and there he is. He came out with a plant. I don't know if you saw that. He grew a plant many plants through the years. He'd get seeds from the kitchen.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know. And one time a guard actually took his plant and put it in her office. Took it away from him because they're not really allowed to do it.
Okay.
And but I'm like, yeah, okay. But anyway, he had many. He had one called Schubert that after the segregated housing unit that he had been in, he named the plant Schubert. But Schubert died at some point, and they don't do that well in cells.
Sure.
And
neither do people.
But he got some pepper seeds from the kitchen and grew this plant named Leaf Erikson.
Okay.
Leaf. And Leaf Erikson went out like this, and now he's got him still. He's like this high.
Wait, but I mean, seeing your boy free.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been completely surreal.
Oh, totally. I mean, first of all, how many times did I visit him and say, I wish I could say, come on, let's go get some lunch, or come on with me. And it was so weird that he had to stay and I could leave. He wasn't allowed to leave.
Right.
And this time here he was, normal clothes, not the prison thing, and uniform, and just smiling and out. He was out. He was breathing free air, which he said was, he's mentioned, he was like coming out into that freedom was palpable. It was, he talked about this at the Bitcoin conference. He said, you got to appreciate your freedom.
Yeah.
It's so easy to forget.
Of course.
And take for granted. And he talked about that a lot. And he said it was just palpable to come into this freedom. It was just kind of, and then there he was,
I don't know if he said this to
we were all hugging and
sure.
crying and so happy to see him.
I don't know if he said this to a friend of mine or if it was during a speech, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling this story, but someone asked him, when you're out, do you ever wake up and think, oh, I have dreams that you were still in jail? He goes, it's the opposite, which is much worse in a way. When I was in jail, I'd wake up thinking I was free.
And then, oh no.
My God. I mean, what do you remember the first thing you guys went to go eat?
Oh, we had a whole family reunion already planned.
Oh, wow.
Even though we didn't know for sure when it would happen, we figured we'd be ready. And so we, my son-in-law is a chef, and he
wonderful.
He got to say what he wanted.
Okay.
And we had a great week.
Isn't that some people have their last meal,
yeah,
and he has his first meal. First meal out of jail. It's much more positive approach, I think. I have to ask, and we can cut this if you don't want it. Did you actually vote for Trump?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I just wanted to be sure. I voted for him 3 times. Let's talk about
and I just want to say thank you to him.
Of course, please do.
Because, he gave my son a second chance at life.
Oh, yeah.
He really did.
And he didn't have to.
And it was a controversial thing to do. And he had the courage to be merciful. I know there was political advantages and this and that, but it took a lot. And I feel like mercy is an integral part of our values in this country, that, and he had the courage to do it and to risk. And he was advised, this is going to be not a good idea, and he
I don't see the downside. What's the downside?
Well, Ross is, this kingpin drug person.
I
mean, no, not that he actually is.
I
but-
can't imagine anyone looking at any of his pictures of him and being like, this kid can't be out on the street.
Yeah, he's scary. He's a
Right.
scary guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, and when you read about the case, the whole thing is like no one's accusing him of being some kind of mass murderer, rapist,
Not at all.
all these
No
violent things.
violence at all.
And those people don't even get life, let
No.
alone
Oh,
double
no.
life plus 40 and no parole. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Exactly.
It's so bizarre.
I actually think that sentence helped.
Because it was, right. You know what?
I
If it
do.
was just 20 years, no
Yeah.
one would care.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as shocking. Okay, do your 20.
Yeah.
You
Like,
blew it.
you know what it would be? He must have done something. But
Yeah.
if it's double life, it's like, wait a minute, how many people did he murder? How many women
Yeah.
did he rape? 0. What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're right.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And he, Trump said, Charlie Kirk told me, because he talked to him first time around, and he kept saying, God, that sentence. He couldn't get over the sentence. And that's what he said to me too when I met him. He said, I can't get over that sentence. It's so wrong.
I'm a troll, right? And there's a big part of me that wants to call, if Judge Forrest had any comment on this.
I've not seen a word. She's in the private sector now.
I know. So that means her number is accessible. And I'm so tempted to call her and ask her for comment.
I doubt she'd give you one, but,
It's,
I've thought often. I hope she's, losing a little sleep over Ross being out. She was all afraid of him. And it was like, she got doxxed by some idiot.
oh, she did? Okay.
Back
I
in
don't,
the-
I don't approve of that.
before
Okay.
the trial.
Sure.
Or it was out that supposedly. And so she was really terrified. And so she wouldn't let our attorneys get the information they were permitted to have about the witnesses that were going to be brought forth.
Okay.
And, she should have recused herself at
Sure.
that point.
Sure.
And instead she didn't. She just
And I'm
blocked
sure after
them.
getting doxxed, no one came to her house. No one assaulted her.
Not that I ever heard.
Right. Oh,
But, look, we said we do not approve of this.
Of
Do not
course.
dox the judge. It wasn't Ross. But she had this image of Ross as this dangerous person, I guess. And so that was even before trial. It was working against him.
So let's talk about this new organization you started, which is Mothers Against Cruel Sentencing. One
Or
thing-
MAX for short. Since,
Okay.
If you want. I mean, it's a mouthful.
One of the
But-
things I think that's wonderful is you've made you have this community, in a sense, built around this case. And instead of being like, all right, we got what we wanted, go home, everybody. It's like, wait a minute, we could leverage this into, there's other Rosses out there, there's other Lyns out there. So can you talk a bit about that?
Exactly. Yeah, I really just want to, as I said, I mean, I'm a very unlikely person to do this for Ross and even this. Although I have more credibility now. In fact, I'm the go-to person for how do I get out of prison now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I know who to call.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying I'm getting results, but it's like, hey, how did you do it?
Your
And I'm
batting
like,
average is pretty
you
good.
have over 11 years, first of all.
It was 11 years.
It was 11 and a half years. And look, I try to help whatever I feel for people who are going to prison, even people who've done I'm not talking about violent, horrible, scary people, but I'm talking about people who shouldn't have done what they did. I don't see why, if I'm not afraid to get in an elevator with them, do they really need to be in a cage?
House arrest, right? Put a tracker on them.
Exactly.
Like I'm sure there's lots of people who, after all this time, would be like, "Look, I won't leave my apartment. Let me just have
Ankle
groceries."
bracelet can track you very, very well.
Yeah, let's do that.
They can look at your computer. They
Right,
can put in camera.
fine.
Oh, but they could be with their family, children,
Yes,
all of this. Save the taxpayer millions,
right.
probably more. The BOPs, I was told, was the most expensive item in the whole DOJ.
I'm sure.
It's
This
very
is the thing that drives me crazy about conservatives, because a lot of times when people have an issue, they just hand wave away the problem, right? So, for example, like, I'm not interested in your opinion on this. I don't want to get into this, like trans issues, like what happens when someone competes in sports. Well, it's not going to be a big deal. Well, you have to worry about that, right? Even if you act in good faith. And same thing here. It's just like when conservatives are like, well, if you did the crime, just lock him up. I'm like,
Okay, do the time.
but
That's the little saying.
you're paying for that. Like, where's your fiscal conservatism if you're putting away so many people when there are alternatives that would still keep everyone safe? No one's saying leave them on the street, but I'm like,
Right.
what if they're in a halfway house?
Right.
Right? What if they have an ankle bracelet? There's a difference between a killer and a burglar. I mean, they're not equally dangerous.
Exactly.
So,
Or
okay.
a scammer.
Oh, yeah, that's
or
right.
any white collar, someone who's not a physical threat. And Ross says that. He said it in his talk at Freedom Fest. Again, he talked a lot about the prison. And he said feels it's safe to say that well over half of the people in there have no business being in there.
Right.
They really don't.
And
And they're not serving anything. It's a huge brain drain. There's all these guys in cryptocurrency, and you can say what they did wasn't good or not, it was bad. Roger Ver is one.
Right.
There's very more high profile, and there's several others. And they're smart. Anybody who can figure out cryptocurrency is smart. I mean, I've been trying for a long time, and again, boomer. But also, look, it's not genetic. Ross did not get his mathematical and from me. I've never liked math. But why are they going to prison? Why is Roger Ver facing 107 years?
And so Roger Ver, I've talked about him on the show before.
Uh-huh.
I just spoke to him recently. They're trying to I don't know what the exact situation is. He's the next one I think Trump should be pardoning or commuting. Great. They're accusing him of, they accused him of, this is a trick that the IRS does, which when I heard about this, I was shocked. They said his IRS form was fraudulent. Okay, fine. But because he mailed it, they added like 20 years of mail fraud.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Do you see how that works? Is that amazing?
Unbelievable.
So it's just like, let's suppose, for the sake, let's steel man it. His IRS tax form was a fraud. Mm-hmm. Fine. Milk him.
Yeah. Pay the fine.
Pay a huge fine.
He's offered to.
What is the benefit of putting him in? And the thing is like, if in terms of like it's going to incentivize other people, don't you want these rich people to pay these big fines? It's just a revenue generator for you. What is the incentive of putting him in jail for 20 years?
I'm actually pretty surprised because they like money. That's
right.
For sure.
Take the money. It's either you get a lot of money from these rich people or you're paying for 20 years, put them in jail, helping no one.
I know.
It's the incentives are so crazy.
Really, it's a threat to all of us once again.
That's right.
Oh, you mess up too badly in your taxes?
Yeah. Right.
There you go.
I saw this meme years ago where it's like, so there's this magic number. There's this number that the IRS says you owe, and they won't tell you what the number is.
That's what they did to him.
Right. And if you get the number wrong, then you go away. It's like, just tell me the number. I'll pay it.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. Also, they raided his attorney's office and violated attorney-client privilege, which also puts us all in peril.
Right. But they did that with Trump as well. I think, so I'm sure your answer is yes, but I still want to hear your thoughts. All the stuff that they did to Trump, I'm sure really red-pilled him about how the criminal justice system works.
Well, in his part, he posted on Truth, and then it was on X. One of the points he made, and I was very honored, by the way, he said it was partially in honor of me and Libertarian Party. It was great. I mean, it was really honor for him to say that. I was so gratified. But he said that the same scum, he said the same scum that went after me and went after Ross, which is true. It's the Southern District of New York. And then he called them lunatics somewhere in there too.
Okay.
But he said the same scum. And I think that those people, he could feel it. It was like the same people. And so I think that helped his sympathy towards Ross that he'd been up against that. They're the most notoriously powerful prosecutors in the world.
Well, and this is the thing I want concerned.
And they always get all the cases they want too.
Yeah.
Like Ross was arrested in California. What's he doing in New York?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they wanted it, of course.
This is the thing that I want conservatives to understand. When you hear these prosecutors talk about law and order and keeping you safe, a lot of times they mean Kyle Rittenhouse, right? They mean people like that. They mean people they can make examples of. You're like, wait a minute. Like what you're making a big arrest and a big case, but this is not necessarily someone who you'd want to have in jail. So they talk tough, but when you read between the lines, if you saw this during COVID, if I want to go to my mom's funeral or visit her in the hospital, I'm getting arrested. Is that really the kind of justice system that you want? So I'm gladdened, I think, that conservatives to some extent are realizing, wait. Some of these prosecutors are not working to keep the streets safe. They're working to implement a political agenda.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can people learn more about your organization?
I
And
mean,
what
Ross
is it?
was, oh, sorry. I was just saying,
Please.
Ross he was an example,
Oh yeah, of course.
and the judge even said that. The other thing she said was that he had a very dangerous philosophy. His libertarian philosophy was not permitted to be told at trial, mentioned at trial to the jurors, because maybe they'd be sympathetic to the fact that this was an idealist who was trying to do a free market using Bitcoin and believed in the non-aggression principle. You don't harm a third party. It's okay. I'm not defending everything on Silk Road at all, but I'm just saying she didn't let that be known that was what he was doing.
I'm going to tell a joke that I told to you in person. Now I can say it publicly because I couldn't say it publicly before, which is you gave Ross Ayn Rand.
Atlas Shrugged.
And I asked you, couldn't you give him the Turner Diaries like a normal mom?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you would tell me, like, why did I give him that damn book?
Why?
Were people mailing him copies of it in jail as well?
Not that I know of.
Because there was someone else who went to jail, some kind of political prisoner, and he got like dozens of copies of Atlas Shrugged. Like, yeah, I read it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
She did. How did she? Wait, what was the ruling? Like, what? How did she specifically say he can't talk about?
That was pre-trial. That was denied, and then at sentencing she said, you have a very dangerous philosophy, and we're not sure that's a philosophy you've left behind. So off with you to die in prison. That's what she said.
Crap.
And I'm like, wait a minute, First Amendment. Hello, we shouldn't be jailed.
Not even
for
First
our philosophy.
Amendment. It's talk about the Constitution. It's this is
just plain Constitution.
This is Americanism. Freedom. Oh, holy crap. Ooh, that's just Soviet.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
Do you know what's even crazier?
So he's this example. Don't speak up too much.
Yeah. Is that these, like, there's, during right after McKinley was shot, they had this alien, I forget what it's called, but they kicked out all these radicals, communists and anarchists, so on and so forth. They deported them then later to Soviet Russia. It's like, yeah, they at least get deported. You're not locking them up. Mm-hmm. And that was 100 years ago. Holy crap. What a so literally she's an Ayn Rand villain.
Yeah, she'd be a great villain.
No, she is.
Well, she is a villain.
She is a real. She's a real life. This is a real. If this story would easily be an Atlas Shrugged, where I'm not imprisoning you for anything you did. I'm imprisoning you for what's in your head. That's what's dangerous, not your actions, your thoughts. That's what she said explicitly.
And what you say.
Because
you're very scared. You're very dangerous. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And so I'm going to have to show that, you are an example. The irony of that is that right after Ross was sentenced, there was a huge upsurge in darknet markets.
Of course.
Which were much worse than Silk Road. Not that I'm defending Silk Road, but Silk Road had nothing to do with child pornography or pedophilia at all, for one example.
Right.
There were certain, it had a book club. It had ways to try to help people get off drugs at different, again, I'm not saying it was a good idea in many ways. I know many people do. But, it wasn't all malevolent, this horrible thing that was being portrayed. And there was no child, many journals and magazines, newspapers, media have said, oh yeah, child trafficking, human none of that was on Silk Road. They don't bother to really.
They don't care.
Yeah, no.
Have you reached out to the Ayn Rand, the Ayn Rand Institute?
No. I haven't reached out to them.
They might have you speak with them or Ross. Maybe get a nice honorarium.
Yeah. Maybe. I know some people that, but yeah.
Hey, it's James Altucher. I've been an entrepreneur, investor, best-selling writer, stand-up comic, and whatever it is I'm interested in, I get obsessed. Yes, it's led to success, but it's also led to such heartbreaking failure. I have failed more times than I can count. I wish in my life I had people to talk to. That's why I started the James Altucher Show and bring on some of the most brilliant minds in every area of life. People like Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely, Mark Cuban, Danica Patrick, Gary Kasparov. And I wanted to find out exactly how they've navigated the highs, the lows, and everything in between. No fluff, just raw stories and real advice. I've talked to 1,500 of the most amazing people on the planet. So if you want to learn from the best and skip the same old canned interviews, we're all about helping you find your next big idea, level up your thinking, and ultimately to choose yourself. So let's do this together. Subscribe now to The James Altucher Show.
Let's get back to the show.
Tell me more again about this organization.
Oh, yeah. So Well, I've been thinking about it for a few years because I've been hearing from people. People would reach out to me and say, "Oh, my son is doing 16 years for this drug offense, and he's this young kid, young, teenager or early 20s." Say, there's one specific one that was 16 years. I remember, and going 16 years to him. I mean, no, it's not double life, but it's a big chunk of his development, And actually, the majority of prisoners are under 25, male. Under 25 male, first of all, their brains aren't developed. Secondly, they're raging testosterone. A lot of them have no sense, and they do reckless things and sometimes violent or bad things or car wrecks or whatever. And they end up in prison for years. I mean, exorbitant sentences, and their lives are destroyed. And I think people should pay consequences, like we talked about, if it's necessary. But the Sentencing Reform Act says a sentence should be sufficient, but no longer than necessary. It's in the law. The Congress has passed that. Not to mention the 8th Amendment of the Bill of Rights prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Right. And most of these sentences, this upsurge and mushrooming of sentencing happened in the 1980s with the drug war.
Right.
Before that, these are unusual sentences, very unusual. Right. When I was growing up, back way long ago, hardly anybody got a life sentence. Very rare.
No, it's got to be like some grisly mass murder, someone kills their family, that kind of stuff, yeah.
And now, as I mentioned to you before, it's like almost 100, I can't get exact number, but it's around 100 people are serving life for marijuana. Marijuana.
Even cocaine, I don't think she would get life.
I don't think any nonviolent drug.
What is the benefit of keeping a senior citizen in jail because he was a coke dealer in his 20s?
Exactly.
Like, who's his help?
Yeah. And, the thing is, we personally know people that were in prison with Ross. One of them was thankfully pardoned by President Trump, but he was serving, I think he'd done like 30 some odd years already. He had a life sentence for marijuana, and he was in Colorado, where on a state level, it was legal. That's insane. Life. And he's out. He's out, thankfully. There's another one, a friend of his there. Ross says, perfectly good guy. I've talked to his sister. His daughter was deprived of a father for all these years. He was arrested for some user amount of meth in his pocket. He's a meth addict, right. But it was his third strike. And if it's your third strike, it was life, automatic. And
the judge has no choice.
No.
Because the sentencing's out of his hands.
You're out. Your life.
I'm going to give
They've fixed it a little, but not. But
I'm going to give people some advice that I did myself. Now, if you're part of a grand jury, you can't discuss it on camera. So a friend of mine got picked to be in a grand jury in New York. And he told the cop, whoever is at the front, I'm an anarchist and I won't vote to convict on any charge. They said, too bad, you're on the grand jury. So he had no choice but to be in the grand jury. And how a grand jury works, people don't know, is there's like 25 of you, something like that. There's a big number. The prosecutor, the DA comes in, they give you the evidence, and you have to say, as the grand jury, is there enough evidence here to pursue a charge? So you're not saying innocent or guilty. You're saying this doesn't pass the sniff test.
Right.
Now, populations of normies like to be led. So if you're on this grand jury and there's a drug charge, all you have to do, my friend told me, is say, look, we all know someone who's been involved in drugs. This kid is 20, 16, 25. If they go away for 3 years, their life is ruined. Does this make any sense to you? Under the law, we do not have to pass this. They call it a true bill. We could just vote no. And when that happens and everyone keeps their hands down and the DA comes back after deliberation and they go, no true bill, the DA will be very baffled because this doesn't happen often because they had them dead to rights. They found that pound of leafy substance in that person's room, but they will have no choice but to let that person go free, and that you will have saved that life and they will never know what happened, but you could pat yourself on the back for doing this. So if you happen to go in a grand jury, I hope what my friend told me is accurate, but this is something you can, concrete ways to help people. Now, one more thing, if that person had something else that was involved, like they had guns in their house or speeding, they are going to push it forward. So, but if it's just, we found a bunch of weed in some kid's house, you'll be able to get them off.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, there's another thing, jury nullification.
That's right.
and that was kind of an issue in Ross's trial, because we had a whole bunch of people promoting that and putting it on bus stop signs right out around the courthouse and that kind of. You do not, if you think a law is incorrect or wrong, you do not have to say guilty. You can say not guilty.
Yeah, let's talk about this. The whole legal system is very much based on this idea of like citizens who have their shit together, which may have been the case, maybe the colonial time, but it's still in the law.
Yeah.
Point being, as a juror, you're pretty much untouchable, right? So if there's no gun to your head forcing you to convict, even if you think all the evidence says this person did it. If you think the crime is something unconscionable or wrong, you could still say nope, and you could have 11 people yelling at you till they're blue in the face. There's nothing they can do. Just hold tight, and they'll have to let the person walk or have another trial, which they rarely want to do. But all it takes is that one person usually to be like, I do not in my conscience feel comfortable putting this person in jail, and you'll get them off.
Wow. And there were a few people in that jury, Ross's jury. We got to know and had nicknames for the different jurors. So we know. And there were a few that hated I could tell, they didn't want to say guilty. And one, she had to force him. He was like, you have to say it loudly so I can hear it. And the thing is, that jury, and the whole thing about juries, first of all, I felt like the jury had been tainted because Chuck Schumer came out pre-trial saying, hey, congratulations, Eric Holder, you got your man. That's pre-trial. Is he guilty? I thought we had trials, innocent until proven guilty. But, the jury had no idea what Bitcoin was. It was presented as a whole scary, dangerous thing.
Right.
Andreas Antonopoulos, who's an expert, was being called. She said, don't bother to come. The jury understands Bitcoin just fine. There's so many things that the trial's a whole other subject, but I just don't feel like we get fair trials. And it's called the trial tax, when you will get a higher sentence if you go to trial than if you plead, even to things you didn't do.
And also, especially if a case is newsworthy. If it's newsworthy, you're not getting a fair trial because there's a huge incentive to make sure we got our man, put him away.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, guys, if you're interested in helping Roger Vere's case, it's freerogernow.org. I've signed, Lyn signed it. Read up on his situation. It's really someone who's been railroaded. We talked about this with the Robert Barnes episode earlier this year, who's perfectly happy to be like, I'll pay the fine. Like, I don't want to be a prisoner. It helps absolutely no one. There's no accusation of violence. He's a great dude. They called him Bitcoin Jesus. And he's so talented. And there's so many venues where he could be using his skills that helps society. It helps. This is something everyone should want. There's no upside to putting him away for anyone.
No, it's a downside. It's going to cost a lot of money because they're looking at 107 years or some over 100 years. That costs the taxpayer millions of dollars.
Yeah, of course.
It's expensive.
Folks, head over to malice.locals.com where contributing listeners sent in questions to all our guests. Tell us a bit more about this organization and how. So you have the website.
Yeah.
What?
It's new.
It's
Everything's new. I just started it because actually I was going to take a break.
Okay.
I was going to but then all these conferences came up this summer. The Bitcoin had a big conference, Bitcoin 20, in Vegas, and then Freedom Fest, and then Porcupine Freedom Festival. And so I thought, well, got to launch it now because we can tell people about it. So it's very new. So it's not like a fully developed. It's there. There's info and there's ways to donate and everything. And it is a nonprofit, so you can write it off your taxes. And so I'm not. I know I want to make a big noise. I can make a big noise,
sure.
And do that. But I am going to meet with people in the criminal justice system, not the government system, but, against, for reform with them and others to say, what can we do realistically to shorten sentences or, I don't know. I want guidance. So I'm going to get that and we'll see what we can do because it's not right. It's unconstitutional. That should be enough for conservatives for sure.
Right. That's right.
It should. I mean, the founding fathers put it in there for a reason.
Right.
And
no matter what you think of January 6th, right? Even if you think it's an insurrection, these people who've never laid a hand on anyone should not be given solitary. For me,
that's a whole other subject.
Right. So for me, solitary is maybe if I'm at a risk, if I'm a threat to other prisoners, right? Like I've been a mass murderer. Now, if you have me in Gen Pop, I'm going to start stabbing people. You got to put me in solitary
You have
because
to.
I'm not
Yeah.
fine. But if you're not accused of putting your hand on anyone,
Absolutely.
that is Soviet torture.
You shouldn't even be in a cage at all.
Well,
in
at all.
prison.
But like even
Yeah,
I'm going to
but
assume from your
solitary- okay.
from your point of view, you want to know if to find solitary. It's torture.
Yeah, Ross was in solitary several times.
For how long? Do you remember the stretches?
Months at a time. And COVID was virtual solitary because they wouldn't let them.
Right.
And then, but also a few months at a time to sometimes a week. It just,
It's just fascinating because like during COVID, it's like, as my friend Lou Perez tweeted out, if you don't have COVID, you can't spread COVID. So these prisoners aren't really interacting with anyone outside this prison, so they can commingle fine because they can't spread it if they don't have it.
yeah, they just cut off visiting. I guess. Yeah.
That's fine. And then
Mhm.
no one has it, so you're fine. Holy, it's not this magic
it's
thing
so
that
overkill.
spontaneously
Yeah.
generates from inside the body. Oh my God. It's not the
Totally
miasma
overkill.
theory of disease, which they
Yeah.
had in the 1800s
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Ross knows a guy he talks about. He was in for 23 years, solitary confinement. That's going to make you crazy. And he said all he wanted to do was talk to people. He was so lonely. The loneliness in prison is a whole other thing. It's Ross. This is an interesting thing. He wrote about this. He said that he did an experiment, and he went around to his fellow prisoners, a bunch of them, and said, "Which would you choose? Real torture, like the flogging, pulling out your fingernails, the rack, whatever, for a finite time, or being here for your sentence for this long." Every one of them picked real torture.
Of course.
Just give me the real torture. Let's get it over with,
I'll tell you a funny anecdote that just happened a couple of weeks ago when Elon and Trump had their big falling out,
Mhm.
which made no sense to me.
Mhm.
And I said, this is the president. If Donald Trump this is the example I used, and I'm sure you look, I said, if Donald Trump called me and said, I'm going to free Ross on one condition, I get the shit in your mouth, I would open up.
Of course.
And no one would even judge me. My friends would buy me Listerine and they'd pat me on the back and they'd be like, yeah, of course. It's like a no-brainer.
No problem.
Right, no problem. It's not even a question, right? So to burn that bridge was so crazy. Like if you think he's doing a bad job, you think he's terrible, fine. Walk away. But that phone is a phone to someone who could save lives.
Yeah.
It's just, that was so crazy to me. So, and there's ways he could have been diplomatic to be like, look, this bill is terrible, but that's a whole other story. But I was like, I just thought of Ross and I thought of all those people that Trump is in a position to let out, and you let this guy do whatever he wants to you, because that's what's the upside is incalculable.
Yeah, exactly. And Ross even talked about actual physical torture in there. There's a thing he talked about called, I can't remember the exact name of the thing. It's in his speech, but it's basically a concrete bed with straps, and they pull it really hard. And he knows people basically to subdue them or to whatever reason. And he knows people who are permanently had a limp from it. One other man who couldn't use his hands anymore. This is the United States of America. And also the women that were raped because the guards in the women's and I've heard that before from people who are in prison. There's a lot of bad things that happen.
And no one's going to believe her. You're a jailbird.
Well, you can complain.
And also the retribution would be insane.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So
Absolutely.
what are you supposed to do as a
yeah?
And then
Trapped.
And then he's going to say she asked for it, and who are you going to believe? And now she's a whore.
Well, she's already in jail.
Right. She must have done something for a woman to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know the whole speech. It's horrifying. We're not even going to get into the when they put trans women with women, former rapists. That's just, I can't even wrap my head around that one. Yeah. It's just, even if you're supportive of that issue, but like in this context, my God, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. I did have one last question, which is, do you remember the last argument you had with Ross? Right?
Good question.
It must have been years.
Let me think. God, you're asking me to remember things. It's not good.
That's the point of the show.
Argument. I honestly can't, but I have. It's not like we've never had arguments. We have differences of opinion is more like it.
Okay.
And I honestly, I'm sure I'll think of it later. I'll go, damn, I should have thought of that argument. But I can't offhand really think of one that I've had.
Wait, I have another question. Are you this might actually, I don't even know what the answer would be. Are you talking to him less now that he's out?
No, I'm talking
Okay.
to him more.
Okay.
Because I mean, I followed him around the country for years. By follow him, I mean I moved.
Sure.
But now that he's married and they're so happy and they're just enjoying their freedom and everything. It's just, a great time. But he can call me.
Right.
In prison, first of all, I didn't visit him as much. I started out visiting him every weekend because I moved there, and then I of course let them have times because it's limited. And then we didn't speak on the prison phone openly. It's always monitored,
Right.
and you don't want to talk about politics. You don't want to
Yeah.
talk about, and so. But now we can talk to each other and see each other, and yeah. So
that's
no, it's much more now. Yeah.
So this is a great
Yeah.
4th of July episode. The whole episode you've been smiling, which has not been the case in previous episodes. And
No.
now you have reason to.
Yeah.
So this is the Lyn I've gotten to know. And I'm so
Yeah.
excited that other people get to see the side
thanks
of
so
you
much
as well.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to meet Ross and
Oh yeah. I want you to meet him
roast
too.
him because there's nothing he's invulnerable now. Like
Yeah.
after you survive that, it's just like, there's nothing you can do to me.
Exactly.
So I'm just really, really, this makes me so happy to have played a small part in
You did.
this and just that we did it. Like it
Yes.
happened. It really happened.
Yeah.
So for people out there who think hope is ridiculous,
Yeah.
sometimes it is ridiculous, but ridiculous things happen every single day.
Miracles happen. And it doesn't mean you can't help it happen or do it. It's like, that's what I really want people to take. It's like, do your little part. You never know. I'm Frodo. I'm the unlikely person.
I guess that makes me Gollum. Not the first time I've been called that. And free Roger Veer.
No, I don't think you're Gollum.
Sauron, maybe.
No, you're not sorry.
I hate that whole series.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Well,
that's my daughter. She calls me that.
wait. So how many siblings does Ross have?
He has one sister and one half brother.
Are they jealous that Ross got all the attention,
Oh, no. Oh, you mean now?
or just in general? It's like, Mom, I'm not in jail. I have beats too.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty obsessed.
Of course. Lyn, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite part of this episode?
Really, just sitting here chatting with you, I feel like we're not really on air, which, and just having a good time. You're always fun. We always have fun, and just appreciate. I think that your insights are very excellent insights.
Oh, well, you are welcome.
This summer, Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Summer of Cinema is here. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Mission Impossible, Beverly Hills Cop, Good Burger, and Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Bring the action with you and stream for free from all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.